Hello everyone. You're watching Before Money, a channel about learning and understanding money before it appears. Here, we don't talk about quick millions or shortcuts. We break down the mindset, decisions, and mistakes that lead to real outcomes. Today, I'll walk you through the core behavioral principles of millionaires, not the motivational myths, but the patterns that consistently show up in real stories. We'll look at why Warren Buffett walked away from billion-dollar deals, how Elon Musk risked everything, but not blindly, and what mistakes during the 2008 financial crisis cost confident investors millions. This isn't inspiration. This is education. If you want to understand how people think before they become wealthy, stay with us and let's begin. How the wealthy think. A story about money, risk, and mistakes, based on real events. Most people want to understand one thing in life: how wealthy people think. Not how much they earn. Not which courses they took. Not what time they wake up. But what happens in their mind at the exact moment they make a decision. Because money is not numbers. Money is not bank accounts or luxury. Money is the consequence of decisions made over time. Every dollar represents a choice. Every loss represents a mistake. Every fortune represents years of thinking before acting. When you study real stories of millionaires and billionaires, one truth becomes clear. Wealth almost never comes from a genius idea. Ideas are everywhere. Millions of people have good ideas, but wealth comes from a mindset shaped slowly, through fear, discipline, mistakes, patience, and loss. That mindset is the real difference. The first thing that separates the wealthy, their relationship with risk. An average person thinks about risk emotionally. They ask, what if it doesn't work? What if I fail? What if I lose everything? A wealthy person asks a different question. What exactly will I lose if this fails? This question changes everything. It turns fear into calculation, emotion into logic, panic into strategy. The difference sounds small, but it determines outcomes for decades. Average people focus on the possibility of failure. Wealthy people focus on the cost of failure. If the cost is survivable, they proceed. If the cost is destructive, they walk away. This single habit protects wealth better than any strategy. Warren Buffett. When you can, but you shouldn't. Warren Buffett is one of the richest individuals in modern history. But he did not become wealthy by taking extreme risks. In fact, he became wealthy by saying no, far more often than yes. Buffett ignored trends, ignored hype, ignored pressure. He waited. A real fact. Buffett did not invest early in Google, Amazon, or Tesla. Later, he openly admitted these were missed opportunities. Why did he pass on them? Because he did not understand their business models deeply enough at the time. And for Buffett, not understanding something fully is reason enough to walk away, no matter how profitable it looks. Here is the key lesson. Buffett preferred missing billions in potential profit over risking money in something he could not clearly explain. This is not fear. This is discipline. Wealthy people do not chase opportunity. They wait for clarity. The wealthy are not smarter. They are slower. There is a dangerous myth that wealthy people make fast, bold decisions. Reality is the opposite. Big money almost always comes from slow thinking. Buffett can wait years for the right investment. He is comfortable doing nothing. He is comfortable missing trends. He is comfortable looking outdated, because he understands one rule. One bad decision can erase dozens of good ones. Speed creates excitement. Slowness creates stability. Most people confuse action with progress. Wealthy people understand that restraint is often the smartest move. A different mindset. Elon Musk and conscious risk. Now consider a completely different example. Elon Musk. His style looks aggressive. His decisions look extreme, but the logic is still disciplined. In 2008, Elon Musk was nearly bankrupt. This is not exaggeration. He faced 3 failed SpaceX launches, Tesla close to collapse, a personal divorce, and a global financial crisis. Everything was failing at once. Musk had only his last personal funds remaining. He invested them into the 4th SpaceX launch. If it failed, SpaceX would close permanently. This was his final attempt. Why was this not insanity? Because Musk understood the technology deeply. He knew exactly why the previous launches failed. He calculated the probability of success realistically. This was not blind risk. This was informed risk. Wealthy people sometimes risk everything, but only inside their own expertise. They do not gamble. They commit with understanding. There is a difference. The most expensive mistake, the illusion of safety. In 2008, thousands of millionaires lost their fortunes. They were bankers, investors, hedge funds, and business owners. These were not beginners. They invested in complex financial products that looked safe. Why did they trust them? There were ratings. There were experts. There was social proof. Everyone said it was safe. Those who survived the crisis learned the same lesson. If you cannot explain an investment in simple words, you do not understand it. Complexity does not reduce risk. It hides it. The wealthy make mistakes, but not the same ones. Another myth says wealthy people always make correct decisions. That is false. They fail. They lose money. They misjudge situations. The difference is what happens next. Wealthy people document mistakes. They analyze causes. They adjust strategy. Average people justify mistakes, blame others, repeat the same behavior. Mistakes are inevitable. Repeating them is optional. Wealth is protected by learning speed, not perfection. Money is not the goal for the wealthy. This sounds simple, but it changes everything. For most people, money represents security, status, proof of worth. For the wealthy, money represents a tool, a resource, energy for ideas. When money becomes the goal, decisions become emotional. When money is a tool, decisions become calm. Fear exists for everyone. Control is the difference. Wealthy people are not fearless. They simply do not allow fear to make decisions. They ask structured questions. What is the worst-case scenario? Can I survive it? What will I learn if I fail? Often the answer is simple. Failure is painful, but not fatal. This understanding frees decision-making. Fear becomes information, not control. The final educational conclusion. When real stories of wealthy people are viewed together, one uncomfortable truth appears. Wealth is not about luck, not about talent, not even about effort alone. It is about mindset, risk awareness, patience, learning from mistakes, and protecting what already exists. This is not motivation. This is education. Learning how wealthy people think builds maturity, not greed. It teaches responsibility. It teaches restraint. It teaches long-term thinking. This knowledge is valuable not for becoming rich, but for making decisions without fear. Freedom begins there. As we wrap up, it's important to understand one simple truth. Wealth is not built by luck, motivation, or sudden inspiration. It is built by decisions, repeated over time. The stories you've heard today are not about becoming rich fast. They are about thinking clearly under pressure, understanding risk before taking it, and learning to protect what you already have. Millionaires are not fearless. They are not always right, but they are willing to learn, to wait, and to take responsibility for their choices. If you take one thing from this lesson, let it be this. You don't need money to start thinking correctly about money. You need awareness, patience, and the courage to learn from real examples. Education comes before income. Mindset comes before results. And if you keep learning, analyzing, and improving the way you think, the outcomes will eventually follow. Thank you for learning with Before Money. We'll continue next time.